You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 22nd meeting for the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
We're going to call to order the April 22nd, 2025 meeting for the Board of Managers for the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you all for being here. Can we have roll call, please?
Don Babcock. Pat Harris.
Here.
Becky Greenlaw.
Here.
Rich Grammarosa.
Here.
Diane Gonzalez.
Present.
Mike Sykes.
Here.
Adam Konechny.
Here.
Martha King. Here. Laura Kretz. We have a quorum.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Do we have any public comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move right along with our approval of our minutes for our March 2025 meeting. We've had a chance to review them. Do we have a motion?
Second.
So a motion by Mike Sykes, a second by Becky Greenlaw. Any questions, comments, corrections? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we're moving right along into our president's report. Today we are going to have, as part of my report, we're going to have Dan. Where are you, Dan? Oh, there you are. We're going to have Dan review the strategic plan progress that we have made so far this year. As you all know, we had that wonderful opportunity last year to do that, to sit down and just a nice, relaxed atmosphere at Blue Chip Casino and go through the organization, review what's been done and what we hope to accomplish in the future. And they've been working hard to put together how we're going to accomplish those things. So I'm not going to prolong my intro, but I'm going to ask Dan now to give us an update, please.
Thanks, Pat. Thank you for you, the leadership, and the board's leadership to get us to this point where we've got a strong strategic plan, and we're tying that strategic plan and now the business plan back to the budget. And, we've got a lot of new team members. We've got team members that have accepted new roles as people have transitioned out of the organization. So what a perfect time to work on a business plan under the leadership of this board, and then help us and already helped us with the 2025 budget as we evolve this 2025 business plan into the appropriate time schedule for the fall of 26, along with the budgeting process. It's just really gonna make sure that we're working at peak efficiency across all staff levels. So since the last, I'll go through a little reminder. We did a 5-year strategic roadmap with everybody in this room participating. And as part of that, it laid out how the business plan falls in under the next steps out of the 5-year strategic plan and staff assignments as well. And again, with so many new staff coming on board and transitioning, that has been the biggest value and why we've taken the time to go through the business planning process from almost a bottoms-up approach. We, with the leadership team, for each of the 8 pillars that we have in the strategic plan, we've developed a template, a common way to structure and talk about it in the business plan. And we bring the strategies forward after an introduction to the pillar. We bring the strategies forward so the pillar strategies are in the business plan as well. And then that leads us right into key initiatives that we're going to undertake. Obviously, when we started the year, we knew what we were going to be working on because that's how we've done a great job of getting the work done to this point of the year. So this is more about setting the new template for the organization of how we structure ourselves from getting our action items done throughout the year. And so I have spent the last year working under Jack's advisement to meet with each of the staff members that are assigned to the 8 pillars and having them be involved in building out the action items. Because Jack and I could sit and fill these out, but if we want the staff to have buy-in, and when we want to write this business plan so that it's in plain English, so that you don't have some consultant comes in that writes it, it's all this flowery language, but we all say, well, what's that really mean? Go call a consultant and have them read it to you. No, and so each of the staff has done such a great job leaning into this process. They bought into it, and it's taken extra time to do it that way, but it's the right way to do it. And the participation has been excellent. And we are through that phase now, and we're in the final draft. And Jack and I have got to go through a review of it, and then we'll circle around and dot a few I's and cross a few T's. And at the next board meeting, we'll have a pretty version of it to set at your desk. So again, I want to thank the staff for the tremendous job they've done. And their plates are full, but they took the time out and added this into there because they do understand the importance. And think about, when we're done, the goal is somebody that's everybody's working on multiple pillars in this room, but a new person's coming in, let's say Bill or Brett, and they can not only spend the time to learn the pillars that they're responsible for at a high level as part of the onboarding, but they can read and see what's going on with the 6 other pillars they're not directly involved in and understand the scope of the organization, and that makes them that much more valuable as a team player and has us all rowing the boat in the same direction without any confusion. So a very worthwhile process that wouldn't have happened without Pat and the board's leadership and having it all tie back into the budget and make it all work together. And it's just, I think we're really hitting a high note because of that leadership. So thank the board and Pat for that. Any questions?
I just have one. In going through the process with the staff and as they're looking at all the different tasks, was there any low-hanging fruit that we could pick off like right away that you kind of maybe are thinking about?
Well, the low-hanging fruit's probably the stuff that we do year to year and doesn't change much from year to year, kind of block and tackle stuff. So I think the trickier part was thinking about, well, what else could we do? Now that we have this strategic plan and it sets these goals, and each one of them pillar has a strategy and a strategic plan, well, there's some we're looking at, we're saying, you know what, there's a strategic plan item for doing this particular thing. That's a 5-year plan, right? Okay, now which one of those strategic initiatives are we going to work on in 2025, or what aspects of those strategic pillars are we going to work? So that was, I almost look at it, it wasn't the low-hanging fruit, it was which of the high-hanging fruit do we go try to pick and add to the plan. And that was how we focused on it. We went back to the strategies and said, which ones are we going to do in 20? And there's a couple strategies under each pillar that we're saying, you know what, that's really not 2025, that'll be 26 or 27 before we move on to that. But we always look back to those strategies, and that's how we develop the plan.
So you have the strategies, so are you working on the tactics?
Yes.
On what
Yes, exactly.
how you reach those strategies?
Yes.
What tactics you're going to use to do
So
that?
this is where it ends up. We end up with a time and an action plan where we put individual activities that have to happen, what quarters they're going to happen in, time of year,
Good.
and then what staff is assigned
See,
to.
that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, and then this is what we need
We
internally.
all know what the strategies are. I want to know what the tactics are, but
And that'll be back, and that's what, again, Jack and I could have sat down and wrote 90% of this problem, but we wanted our staff to own it and to create it and there was a lot of things I would have missed if we hadn't done that. And I just cannot thank the staff, and what a great staff we have, it's unbelievable. And now they're just gonna be that much more informed, they're that much more bought in, and they're that much more understanding of the big picture of the 8 pillars and not just the 2 they're working on. That's the goal. And then you, as a board, will get to see all that. And so there's a lot of activities that go on to make this thing run. And
I used to see those graphics.
Yeah, sure, I think it's great. I think it's great for any organization like this, and especially the resources that we're trying to manage. And I do like the reporting out, anxious to see how that looks. I would ask.
it's tricky, always tricky.
Whether, of course, if there's, as part of the plan, I think you ought to think a little bit about when you want board interaction or not, whether you have some task forces within inside of the plan or not. Just to keep us engaged too, rather than, okay, you present, we say we like it or we don't. So, because I think it's kind of hard after you put all the hard work in, you bring it to us and go, well, I don't know,
Yeah.
It's kind of how that works, so.
Yeah, and it's kind of a catch-22 because the strategic plan is really where the board shines and really is in their lane, so to speak. And then I think the first 2 pages of this where we do a summation of what that pillar's about, certainly want the board's comment on that. And then these strategic initiatives, well, they're just brought over from the strategic plan. And then you get into, the one thing we did to keep it kind of at the board level in my mind is we do a summary of these tactics that are a little bit more top line. They're not shut down in the weeds quite as much as that. So I know these 2 pages should go to the board. This we'll certainly share with you, but a lot of this, like there's 30 items on this. There'll be time and action plans that'll break off of 6 or 7 of these that need to be broken out. That part of it you probably don't want to look at, we probably won't share. But Jack and I think that's a good idea to look for task force. I hadn't thought of it.
Or kind of, and I'm anticipating you'll have results-driven type of activities in this relative to some level of metrics along with each one of the items in there. So.
Yeah.
I love the speed with which you're going through this because you can get bogged down in this thing really easily.
Well, and you know what? The amount of time we're putting in this year is above and beyond because remember, I didn't start till January 1st either, so I'm learning these 8 pillars and what everybody does. There's so many staff that are learning. So when we get into, after going through this, now in another 6 months, we're going to be doing the 2026 plan in, let's say, September, October. Well, now the staff will know what we're doing, all that. It'll go a lot quicker.
There's a lot more structure to it. And, you know, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So breaking it down into the 8 pillars will allow focus in specific areas and to address.
And then Jack and Gail will make sure we're aligned with the budget.
I really like it. I think it'll be, to your point too, somebody new, whether it's a new board member or new
Yes.
staff member, whoever, you can quick read and absorb, oh, well, here's kind of the key things that are going on. And I think it helps with our communication too.
Yes, our key messaging out to the community and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I just want to encourage board members to, be active in this process. As you said, the strategic plan does fall in the lane of the board. So if you see an opportunity to maybe inform or have some dialogue with Jack and Dan, feel free to do that. And I'm encouraging you. We want that. That was one of the points we wanted to make in doing this is involve board, involve staff, involve community. We're out to our community folks. If they see something out there, we're about community. So definitely contact us and give us some thoughts.
Great. Thank
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay.
That brings us to our treasurer's report. Becky?
Okay, for March 2025, total accounts payable is $39,302.84. Payroll for March, $64,551.46, for a grand total of $102,854.30. I will pass for the board signature the statements, a financial position, the P&L, the budget performance, the bank account reconciliations, and the claim sheets.
We have our motion, we have our treasurer's report, and you had an opportunity, of course, ahead of time to review the treasurer's report, so I will ask for a motion for approval of our claims.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mike Sykes, a second by Rich Gramalosa. Any discussions, questions on our claims? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Financial statement. Did you do it all together?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, you also heard the financial report from our treasurer. Do you have a motion for approval?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, okay, we have a motion by Rich Gramalosa and a second by Diane. Let's see. Do we have any questions on our financials? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Jack, that brings us to our CEO report.
Thanks, Pat. I just had to kind of smile a little bit as you were taking the routine action there. You know, sometimes it does seem like routine, you know, the stuff goes out in the mail, gets approved. Just in the last couple of days, we've had to look at some older contracts that went before the board and to reaffirm some things on those contracts. And we literally had to pull back up the board vote on these routine items and then look and make sure that this contract was in fact passed, not only for the Board of Accounts, but for issues that we're dealing with. For example, we're working on some stuff with our great partners, X Insurance, and that contract, there was a couple versions of it out there, so we had to go back and dig the right one out, and thankfully that the board had motion at a meeting, and we were able to grab all that. I just had to smile about that a little bit. That was kind of internal stuff. But today I've talked with all the staff that are presenting. They got some great stuff. I'm gonna kind of talk a little less and let them talk a little more. I've got two things at the beginning I'd like to use to segue into the boat race. The first one has nothing to do with the boat race, but it has to do with our reporting to you all and how we make sure that we give the board all the information we can and to be as transparent as we can. And the big thing that I wanted to see happen in this last week or two is Pat and Mike called me up last week about some possible adjustments on how we could make the finances more available. The problem we've had is AFS, who does our finances, have been up against a timeline, and as you notice, you'll get a note from Gail usually on Wednesday or Thursday of the previous week saying, here's the agenda, here's the minutes, but no finances yet. And so we were kind of held hostage there a little bit. And then Pat talked to me about what she would like to see in there. So Gail's going to explain all that a lot better than I can, but the good thing is we were able to figure out how to extract the information that we were waiting on from AFS. It's already set in QuickBooks. It's already there. So when you get your board packet now, Gail is going to explain this, it'll have everything in there except the claims, right, Gail?
Correct.
Yep. And you'll have all the backup, every information. If there's any questions at all, you'll have like a week to send Bill, Gail, or myself a question. If there's any you see something come up that you want to, it's already been approved, all of it, nothing gets spent unless it goes before the budget and has a line item. It's already been stamped for approval. The staff is just figuring out how to follow up with the deliverables, whether it's a contract or whether it's a line item. So I'll let Gail explain on that a little more, but I think you'll really like it, that the new system. It's going to get out earlier, and that's a key. So the other thing is, Yeah, so really cool. I got a call earlier in the week and I got appointed to the board of directors for the APBA, the offshore racing sanctioning body. That was really cool. Starting with Jason Miller when he helped us get this started here, and to Rick Wright, and to now Chelsea and Scott, we've put ourselves on the map with regard to offshore racing. And so I was honored and very much about time I got on. We deserve that seat today. So that's the good part. So then I got my first official call last night in capacity of a board member, and can you believe this, that the sanctioning bodies are fighting again? Oh, yeah. So some things never end. This fight is going to be interesting, and it centers around the international stuff again. That's what's been bugging us all along, and it's just people measuring their egos, and just think about every one of these Class 1 Super Cats. Every one of them are millionaires. So we got 3 millionaires in those classes, right? Multi-millionaire. And then you got sponsors like X Insurance are multi-millionaires. And then trying to deal with folks like that, it's not something we do every day, right? I mean, so it's a wonder. It's, you talk about herding rich chickens, not just plain old chickens. And that's a challenge. But so it was a good call. I got appointed, but then we got to find out where in the crosshairs again on this. But we'll be fine with that. It's just good. So moving right into the race, Scott and Chelsea, what you got?
Do you want me to start? Mine is going to be more of I'll kind of bring better news than Jack just did. So, in doing this in some aspect or another for every one of these races, I've got to be close with a lot of the teams, and one of them is, we share information, how are things going here and there, what are your plans for the year and whatnot. Well, I got a phone call a couple of weeks ago from one of the teams. He calls and says hi every once in a while, and he said, so how you doing? I said, good. And he goes, how's the stress level? And I said, minimal. We're early, but, minimal right now. And he said, well, word around the campfire is you're expecting a lot of boats. And I'm like, yeah. I said, probably about 70 boats. And he said, no, you're looking to possibly be a record-breaking venue this year in offshore motorboating. And we're looking at probably close to 100 boats.
Wow.
But, there's a lot of time between now and then. There's a lot of races between now and then. So, but I think one of the smartest things that we did was accidentally get the zoo lot and parking boats there, because we're definitely going to need it if we get that many boats. So I figured I'd share that with everybody, and I hope we get close to that, if not more. And like Jack said, we're definitely giving Key West a run for their money if we're not doing that.
How many boats are usually at Key West?
Key West is probably about the same as us. We're probably about 40, 50 boats.
Oh, okay.
But it is, and what cuts it down a little bit is if you don't have the points to race. Because like the gentleman that called me, he didn't have the points to race, so he's not going to go.
Yeah.
So that's a
72
determining factor.
US this year.
72, yeah. So they have a high number.
It's a little bit higher, because Scott, is it the World Championship?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is a huge point.
We want the World Championship in
We'll be
Michigan.
we'll be the only one we're seeing.
We want that. We're going after. Where's Dan? Put that on your screen.
That's going to be pillar 9, right?
So Scott, do they have to commit to us to come to the race, or they commit to the sanctioning body? When do you know whether it's going to be 60, 80, 200 boats? I mean,
We won't know until as we get closer, because there's races before ours.
Okay, so it's a point thing that-
There could be accidents, there could be breakdowns that can keep them from coming here.
Okay.
And they can register, or they can sign up, but they don't register until they're actually on property.
I gotcha.
But that's a great question. We chase that elusive commitment every year, and we can't get, so we'll be, Terry's gonna go to a couple races, Scott and Chelsea are going to a couple races, Dan and I's we're gonna go out, and they're strategically going, depending on who's running them and when, to track down certain boats that haven't committed yet, and make sure we.
Well, I think you need some board input on that.
Yeah, you better read the statute, pal.
I was asked.
So, but anyway, that's a really cool problem to have that Scott's talking about.
It is. And very exciting too. Being a Michigan City resident for a number of years, it's exciting to see something like this happening in our community. It's just wonderful.
So Scott, Chelsea, did we send this stuff out about Toronto to the board? Does everybody know what happened to Toronto?
I thought you maybe sent it, but now I did.
I think it was at the last board meeting, the date. Should we does everybody know what Toronto got canceled?
No,
It was down,
Everyone
okay.
doesn't know. Everyone doesn't.
So we got an email that directly were relative to the tariff issues between our two countries, that Canada has pulled out of the offshore race. And they said in the press release like 5 times, due to inability to secure safe border passage. That's what they put in the press release. I mean, and I'm sure the folks from Toronto, that's their country, that's their town. They were very open in their displeasure with the friction between the two countries right now, but we got caught in the middle of it, and they had to pull out.
So how many boats is that? Is it 5, 20, 3?
Okay, so I drifted off a little bit. So there's 2 or 3 ways we can track that down. And Scott will tell you. One, each class votes on which venues they want to go to. And every class voted on Michigan City. Okay, every class,
Nice.
top to bottom. Now, as Scott pointed out, somebody may break a propeller next week, 4 hours, or blow an engine and can't come.
Or not have the points.
Or be so far out of it that it's not realistic, like Key West or something like that, right? If they're not. But some of them come just though their sponsors say, look, you gotta keep chugging, you gotta finish across the line, at the end. So that's one way to track it, is because of the fact that each class votes on it. Our RWO is going to do, I would say, a much better job than OPA, our last guy. I mean, he was writing stuff down literally on cocktail napkins, our last guy. The RWO is having them check in online, they get an incentive to do that. And then, if you guys haven't heard it yet, we're gonna give each race team that shows up at Michigan City to race here, we're gonna give them a free chair massage. How do you like that? Huh? A free chair massage.
It's gotta be worth 10,000.
Nobody else is doing that. Well, first of all, these guys get a ton of stress, and to then get setting up a rig that beats the heck out of it. Anyway, so that's something they all look for anyway. But our partners at Patrick's Grill, who does our food, come together with some ideas. I'm getting some folks up on top of the grill and let them do a control massage on the race. We're gonna have a system to it. Okay, yeah, but yeah, we're gonna offer it to them, yeah, for sure. And at hardly any cost to us. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna make a lot of it. Sorry, but I want to make sure because that's a good question on how we tracking the boats. We won't know. Scott will be sitting down there on Monday.
I don't know, I just was trying to get a feel for what is the impact? Is it gonna be a big, obviously negative, but I mean, how big is that or not? Is it, so.
A big change in all of it is us going from OP to RWO, and with Michigan City also being a points race. So like what Jack was saying too, it's not a requirement if you're out of the points race, but like you said, a lot of the sponsors say, we gotta keep the word out there, so we want you to run to Michigan City regardless.
So even with that issue, we still think we're gonna be around 100 boats?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
even with.
To your point, Don,
I'm sorry.
it's, the numbers may not be big, but, I look at it as more of the exposure. When you say, we're international, we have Canada, we have it's more of that type of
I got you.
feel thing to it. You gotta always throw that in, some of the intangibles that go on with it.
And so, again, the laborer said I wasn't gonna do this, but this is kind of, it's all just happening. That phone call I got last night from APBA, in their solution to this international fight, it looks like that either this race coming up, or next year for sure, that we talked about Michigan City being part of a Triple Crown this year, Toronto,
Right.
here, Chicago. Next year, it'll be an international, 3-race thing, and we're gonna be one of them. And it could be this race. In other words, there's gonna be extra points given for 3 races, and they're gonna be internationally, and we're gonna be one of them. And it could be the August race. So that's how fluid this all is, guys. So, sorry, Scott, what else we got in there?
You're fine, no, the more information, the better. Just to touch on, as a lot of you may or may not know, we do monthly meetings. We either meet, well, we mostly meet at City Hall, down in the basement. We do safety meetings with all the entities, with the police department, the fire department, EMA, 911, a lot of these, all these folks. And once a year, we also do, Rob Sadie, he puts on a round table, tabletop exercise. None of us know what goes on, but it puts out an emergency situation at the boat race. I think it worked. We had one last year, worked really well. It actually opened up our eyes on some things that we were lucky hadn't happened yet, as far as, a mass casualty situation where we have to have multiple ambulances or possibly multiple helicopters, an LZ for them to land at, landing zone for them to land at. And so we got that taken care of last year. And then we got another one next week. And I'll update the board on that one. I don't know what the scenarios are. There's only a couple guys that do, Rob being one of them. But fire department, police department, all those same entities will be there, and we go through the what ifs. So, but yeah, I'll give an update next month at the board meeting on that.
Kudos to Terry Gleason on that. He helped pull all that together with Rob and our whole safety backup that Scott's been sharing with all kinds of race teams all around. Actually, that safety protocol that you wrote, Terry.
Any questions for me? All right.
So, moving on, operation and finances, Gail and Bill.
Okay. As Jack alluded to, in addition to the normal financial statements that Becky goes through with us very completely, but we do get into the routine of approving. The information is there, but I have given you one more report that's right in front of you. It's a bank statement. The actual copy of a Horizon bank statement should be on the bottom of your stack. There is another report that I'm able to pull from QuickBooks any day that we're going to polish and get it to exactly what we want it to be. But I wanted you to see the breadth of the information that is available. And we can get these things to you at least a week earlier than what we have been in the most recent past. We've all experienced instances when a question that comes up just before the meeting or even during the meeting creates a situation that does not allow for the best use of time in trying to answer that question with little or no prior notice. So I may not have, the ability to go right into QuickBooks and dig down to the basis of what is being asked. But the report that you all get is shared each month, the report you have historically been receiving. once approved, is also shared with the State Board of Accounts according to their required schedule. The report that you're used to seeing is based on our annual budget that we have approved, usually the prior November, late fall. So in this instance, November of '24. You all approved that as a group. And the report is created by our accountants, which means we're keeping in line with State Board of Accounts audit procedures and requirements. All of this data relates, as Dan brought up very succinctly, leads to our strategic planning ability. If we have not budgeted for a strategic plan item, we can't do it in the short run. We can talk about it and lay it into a budget in the future, but that will limit the actual activity that we're able to do right away. So after taking direction from our board leadership, we've brought these new tools to your attention. The statement of activity budget performance, which is on the screen, and again, I wanted you to see that there's a great more detail to what we can share ahead of time, at least a week earlier than what we.
No, we're gonna clean that up too. They
Yeah,
can't
please.
read that, but we're gonna move one column completely out, because it's
At least
redundant.
one.
Yes, yeah,
And I would like to add to it,
yes.
to show even more detail, and I'll jump to that now. One of the items that we used to have many events, special events, in addition to Great Lakes Grand Prix and the Invitational, we did the Michigan City Aquacross and the LaPorte Aquacross that was part of Lake Fest. We basically have 2 special events, so there's no reason not to give you the detail of what those expenditures are. So that when you see a large expenditure on the report that you're used to, you can see exactly what that entailed, and you have additionally at least a week additional time, if not more, to say to Jack, or to say to Pat, or to say to me, tell me exactly who got money in this. So that's what we wanted to bring to the attention of everyone now. We're sharing the actual Horizon Bank statement. This is the same checking account statement information that is used to reconcile the bank statement that's on your report that you're used to seeing. But you see it with a little bit more clarity because it's not modified from how it comes to us from the bank. And you can pick out and look at claims on that. And in addition then to Becky going through the fact that the bank statement is reconciled, you can actually look at the detail of that report. So if you'll grab that from the bottom of your pile now, I wanted just to give an example or two of just how easy it is to pinpoint something that may be brought up as a question right away. On page 3, which is really the first page of any detail, about a third of the way down, on March 7th, you'll see LaPorte County ACH single payment of over $12,550. And be very common, very legitimate to say, okay, what is that? Who are we giving $12,550 to in March, early March? And what does it relate to on our broader approved budget? And this, I could give you the detail because it was an ACH, and I did it specifically myself. That $12,550 is actually 2 invoices to our new partners, ESPN 1000, which is giving us the opportunity to advertise, market our Great Lakes Grand Prix race and the Bureau in specifics to the Chicago market. And that's something that we've worked hard to get to. So I think you're gonna hear a little bit later how many tickets we've sold to the race already. And with our other data management tools, which are in our strategic plan, and also that we keep sharing on a regular basis, hopefully there'll be a direct tie-in so that we can say, yes, those monies being spent in the Chicago market are benefiting us in the short run, and the data that's peeled back from that will benefit us in the long run. So if I'm misspeaking, I need my team to jump in. There are a couple more payments just above what I first drew your attention to on March 5th. There are 2 auto owners insurance premiums. Now, yes, you all know that we have budgeted for and approved that we have insurance. It's a pretty basic thing we need to do. But I can look at those and tell you, well, the $5,100 one is for auto insurance for all of our autos except for the 15-passenger van. And the $5,900 expenditure is our business liability. Those are our 2 biggest liability opportunities for liability. And overall, you would see on your detailed report that comes in your regular financial package that we are under budget this year for insurance.
Is that an annual premium?
Yes, it is. So it's real clear to see, Pat, on that normal financial statement, we're under budget and our expenditures have been made for the year. So, yeah, it's the kind of information that might jump out at you. Well, let's see. Oh, the very bottom one on that page, March 27th, shows the LaPorte County payroll of $26,010.59. Exactly matches what Becky just went over on our claims sheet. And then the report that's on the screen shows our current report that you're used to seeing shows our monthly. So it'll show March, today and April. This report I'm going to hone so it more succinctly shows the detail of that monthly by line item, by each expenditure that we're used to seeing on the budget and have approved. And we'll continue to polish the report so that it gives more detailed information and gives it to you sooner, so that we can try to get all of those questions that may come up answered in a very efficient process. So I think those were the primary things that I wanted to bring up. I'm sure there might be questions, and also the leadership team as a whole is able to jump in and say, now remember, this ties back to this process. So are there any questions of that nature?
Well, yeah, thank you for the explanation. I do think that, I had some discussion with Pat and Mike here earlier. I do think that the level of detail is tremendous. You know, we have every little penny spent any place. That's wonderful, because it certainly helps with an audit relative to are we spending things appropriately. The challenge that I have is that when I see the list of 500, maybe, well, 500 is exaggeration, maybe 80, 100 expenditures, I don't really have a good relevance relative to is that good or bad or not. So I'm anxious to see your polishing effort And I also think for some of the bigger events, we should also be able to easily align revenue and expense and to actually look at it as a plan for an event. So on this event, we expect to spend this much money. So your example on ESPN, right? So if the lineup is we're planning to spend like $100,000 and we anticipate to get, 100 attendees, 200 or 500, to have some relevance to it's actually in some way summarized for us relative to here's what we planned, here's what we spent, here's what we expected, here's what were the actual results. So I'm anxious to see how this evolves because I think you're moving definitely in a direction that I like anyway. I don't know about other board members, but I really do like to see, the focus on the strategic plan, stuff identified with specific budgets, and for us to be able to relatively easily explain in broad terms, this is what was spent to get this result. And then also the value of all your detail is if you wanted to dive into the minutia, you actually could. So,
Don, so as we discussed earlier, not every event that we run or not everything that we do is expected to return an income.
no, I understand that,
But so what you're saying, what relative expectations came out of this? It doesn't necessarily have to be money.
No, I understand,
Okay.
but it should be heads and beds, or it should be, people come to our community. That's why I think the potential for us.
And again, to the point that we have the summary reports, especially of like the boat race, where we get the CERTEC report that tells us of our return on investment. And, from a community perspective, I think that's one thing we have to look at, is what the return is to our community. Because that's what the Tourism Bureau is about. We're about bringing visitors in so they can experience the retail, the restaurants, the hotels, all the other things going on, and that our partners are ultimately, beneficiaries. And that translates into the community. It all builds on all that stuff. So we got to remember what tourism is really aimed for and what we're trying to do. And to Don's point, I do like the idea of saying, okay, we're going to spend this amount of money. The Tourism Bureau is not going to get money to cover that, but our community does. And that's what we have to stay focused on.
Sure, if you want to argue, 75 or maybe $90 a person or $125 a person for an overnight stay, whatever those metrics are, but we have some feel for that and that we are managing the scarce resources that we have.
Right.
So another thing that I think will tie into this, I'm anxious to hear more on the Placer AI stuff, is that will give us some extra data to prove out or disprove where we're spending our money relative to the budget.
Now, a whole different set of analytics there too, but Dan and I were just talking about this yesterday about moving forward. We may drift off of CERTEC a little bit in a couple areas because Robbie may be able to do some stuff for us that we already own now and actually more detail. So there's nothing to have. The budget doesn't start until we've known that the profit loss thing is going to work. You all get a profit loss every month. You get one at the end of the year, and that is relative to every transaction we do. Okay, we understand that we're not going to get $5.5 million back on the, or $500,000 back on the boat race. We're not going to get 500. We're not going to do that. Okay, we're in year 16, and we're not even third of the way there. Although, good way to segue. What are we doing on the VIP tickets?
We're almost at the dollar amount that we sold in total last year, and we've only been selling for 3 weeks. So last year they did sell out in June. We did open up a lot of seating by changing some of our sponsors and providing them with a separate tent. So it did open up quite a bit of extra ticket sales for us. But yeah, they are definitely going quick, and every time we talk about it, there seems to be a spike in sales, so post about it.
Get in early.
So, yeah, so definitely get your tickets. Remember, we're doing the community appreciation event Monday, Logan's party on Tuesday, you'll get into the zoo with that purchase, and the Brew Fest as well, which is gonna be a big event, I think. So yeah, just go on, get your tickets early, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you. So, but those are the kind of things that will let us have a discussion. Mike Riley, if you hear this, Mike was a backer, no offense, okay, that sat on our board and felt like everything had to come through in the profit and loss. And this was the early years of the race. We literally had to have the mayor extract Mike off of our board. Literally. No, but Mike's background was back in, he brought that up, and it's a great comment. We had to have patience because it took a while but this thing is this year is gonna be a great, on the income side, really gonna be good.
Yeah. I think something we can directly tie into is heads and beds for those events. And that brings in innkeeper's tax, so it's not necessarily a revenue directly, but it's indirect.
We should be measuring benefit in some.
Yeah.
And it's nice to plan on the way in to see whether we actually hit a number that we thought we were going to hit.
And that's kind of our goal, Don, with this Brew Fest specifically, is to create an extra event to try and get people to come in a day early. We knew they were always here Saturday, Sunday. We wanted to try and put something in there that'll bring them in maybe Friday instead. So that's kind of our goal with this.
Yeah, no, love it. It's great. Good.
So anyway, yeah, it's good stuff. So, any questions on, Bill, did you have anything to add?
I just wanted to make comment too, as of last week, all expenditures now run through my office specifically. So being able to release that responsibility from Gail has now freed her up to make these additional modifications to our reporting for our monthly APOM meetings. So I think that's a huge impact for all of us alike. So. And then outside of that, the finances, and we've really beat it to death here. So I'll just go ahead and next little thing that I have is we had this sudden influx that I reported on at our last month's meeting about the phishing scams through our email. So there's some effort there with our IT consultants to remedy and clean that up a little bit. So some of our staff had noticed some disclaimers and stuff that show up on our emails now when we get emails from outside sources, kind of just flagging, hey, this is from an unknown source, be careful what you click on. So just little things like that we're doing to improve the functionality on the safety side for our emails and our IT all around. So it's pretty much all that I have.
Thank you, yeah.
Yep.
I know, like, Bill streamlined the whole process of getting POs started, getting them in and out. And you guys that come in and sign checks, you're gonna see a little bit uptick in that too, moving forward, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to time our second run for our board of managers meeting, so that way it takes a little bit of tax off of your guys' days and pulling you in to sign off on everything, so, yeah.
So I'll just close the discussion there on operation and finances, that just again, no expenditure can happen unless it's been approved on the budget. Because we can't start there's like a 4-step process. Everything's gotta be approved by somebody. By statute, that's me. That gets a verbal, that gets 2 written approvals, it gets a board approval, it gets approved by the board in November, and then it comes back to you guys twice in the month of the actual claim. Okay, so, but nothing can start unless it's been approved by you guys. We don't spend a penny. The only penny I can expend above that is $5,000. Pat can go up to 10. Everything else has got to come back to the board once you gavel down on that budget. So
and that's only the items that are not already approved in the budget. Like if something comes to us that wasn't already in the budget and we got to do something special for it, then that goes through that process. Otherwise, if it's in the budget.
It's much more helpful, Pat, for Pat and I and Gail in October. We're allowed to move, like Pat can move 10,000. We have to move money because each line item doesn't know us spend the exact amount. So that gives us a lot of flexibility in moving that too. So that's good. good process, worked well.
Can I just interject one thing? I've sat on, over the last 10 years beyond, two boards, visitor boards, county visitor bureau boards, and the level of financial transparency and the reports handed out and the detail that's supplied through this county's board at these meetings and is shared is so much broader and more detailed than I received. And, you know, I was in the industry, so I knew what questions to ask. I knew how to oversee it, but it was, this, to me, I'm really impressed with the level of detail.
And that, which boards are those, Dan?
Elkhart and LaGrange.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the executive vice president of the Elkhart board right now. So I took this job and I had to leave the board.
Yeah. All right, thank you. So let's move right along to marketing, and that brings us to Amy, and then I think she's got Robbie and Brett coming on. Yep.
Sure. Okay, so first of all, I want to share that I took my last CDME class. I'm not graduated. I'm not graduated yet. I know, hold the applause for a bit. And for those of you who don't know, CDME stands for Certified Destination Management Executive, and that's through Destination International. So it's quite a feat, but I do have 4 papers I have to write. I have to write a paper for the class. This was a leadership class, and they did talk about financials, and I was very impressed, and I was like, okay, we're right on board with this. But anyway, so I have to write 1 paper for the class, 2 papers, 2 essays for the final exam, and then a final research paper, and it's quite lengthy. So it'll take me some time. It's due by March. I'm hoping to have it done before then, the end of the year. I know Jack has been patiently waiting, so I'm on the home stretch, so we can finally say I'm almost done. Because he said that every time I take a class. This time...
You were just waiting for AI to come forward.
Oh, I love AI. They did say don't let AI write your papers, but you can have AI edit your papers. So, yeah, it's very helpful, indeed. I also wanted to share the Indiana Toll Road Visitors Guide. Robbie brought these. They were hot off the press. NITVC, this is Dan, Robbie, and Dinah's baby. But we have, LaPorte County is showcased several times throughout the guide, so I wanted to share this. We have information on Exit 39, as well as several partners featured. We have Stay and Play, lodging ads for Michigan City and LaPorte as well. And again, that literally lists all of our hotels, motels, talks about vacation rentals and so on. Exit 49, same thing. LaPorte, Stay and Play ad, LaPorte hotels. Again, you guys can take a look at all of this. We also didn't have time to really notch this for you. The travel map, it's part of the toll road guide, but it also is a standalone feature. They print 50,000 of the toll road guides, and again, those are distributed all along the toll road, as well as the counties, the CDBs that are part of it. We have those as well. And then the travel map, yes.
I'm playing flight attendant.
Yeah, thank you. It's also up there. Thank you, Pat. The travel map, as you'll see, features Lighthouse Place premium outlets on the front. And then we also have several of our Michigan City and LaPorte shopping establishments listed there as well. And then we've got the Washington Park Zoo, Blue Chip Casino, and LaPorte County Historical Society and Museum have special call-outs. So we've got, again, several partners listed. We're going to share these with those partners. So we're really excited about these. So take a look if anybody has any questions. And also, as far as the shopping, we leaned into our data on this. Robbie was able to find through Placer AI that we have a lot of people coming to our destination for shopping. So we're really, again, just leaning into that. So I'm looking for more information from Placer. So that's the toll road guide. As far as X Insurance, we have been really working hard to finalize our print collateral. We have a lot of things in the work. Chelsea's been helping me with that. And then planning what we want to do as far as digital campaigns. So next month I will have a comprehensive list, or again, plan for all of you to look at. But I wanted to just go ahead and give you a couple highlights of what we've done this month. We did send out a press release. We had an article featured on speedonthewater.com. Our team last week was on the air with WIMS with Rick Federici, and that was tons of fun, as Rick is always super high energy. And then we have ads running on WIMS, WHFB, WLOI, WCOE, and WeFM as well. And then we had a feature article on Dig the Dunes newsletter for the Great Lakes Grand Prix, and then also was included in Indiana's Cool North newsletter this last month. And then, as Chelsea mentioned, all the ticketed items are available on Indiana On Tap, as well as you can go to glgptickets.com to get those. And then, of course, we're always updating our social media, so I'm hoping and inviting all of you to follow us on Facebook, both X Insurance Great Lakes Grand Prix and Visit Michigan City LaPorte. If you haven't done that, please do it. So that's it for this month.
Yeah. Robbie,
I'm sorry, Bobby.
Yeah, you doing NITDC and data right now?
Yeah, they're kind of,
so.
pretty much all my NITC stuff is to talk about. Yeah, we got the guide out now. And that guide is something we're really proud of because we produce that all in-house. I sell all the ads in that. Dinah and I help organize it and put it together. And it's something we've done every year for a long time. And over the years, we've really refined how we do it, how we put it together until we finally found the product. Like, that's the fastest moving guide out on the toll road, and we're proud of that. We think it does a really good job of representing the communities along the toll road. And I think LaPorte County is very well positioned in the guide, especially with that new shopping feature added on. And plus, they've already been doing a lot for their hotels and stuff like that. So I've been spending this last month getting those out on the toll road on display, getting the old guides swapped out. And the other update to NITDC, I'm currently job training a new person to take over from me out on the toll road, which will free me up to really work on the data stuff, which I really want to be spending my time and energy on. We had someone that was going to replace me a couple weeks ago, but then he had some personal stuff come up and then wasn't able to. But Dale found someone who seems like a great candidate. And after our first day of job training yesterday, I think he'll take over here probably the next week or so. So I'm excited about that. But yeah. And then on the Placer side, we're still working on, I don't know if you can zoom in on that pinpoint a little bit, Chelsea, on the left. Yeah, it's not that. But so dropping these traffic pins, we're finding is very tough because they, even with the correct geo coordination, you have to be super precise where you put that pin. Like all this data, for example, took me forever. Like this is just the exit lane for eastbound traffic coming off of this road. And so we're trying to drop a pin at all these different locations on this exit. So when I'm done with this, we'll have 3 separate pins at this location. We'll have one directly on the toll booth where all traffic is coming through. We'll have one on eastbound and one on westbound. So we can see the different traffic and how all the different lanes and where people are coming from, where the places they're going to. But it's taken some trial and error to get those pins in the right spot. But the good thing is I'm going to be sitting down with Amy over the next couple days. We're going to be putting together our strategic plan to mapping out which events from South County to the Great Lakes Grand Prix. All these events we want to start being able to target, fence, and geofencing. A park is a lot easier and a lot more straightforward than dropping traffic pins on a very specific lane. So going forward with a lot of this data reports, we will be able to start highlighting different events, and you'll be able to start seeing event traffic from, Brewfest to, any parades and stuff like that and downtown activities. So we're excited to share that. But just to show you a quick sample of the data we're just beginning to dive into on the travel, you can see this is eastbound traffic. So these are the people coming out of Chicago. And you can really get a good idea of where that heat map is, where people live. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see like this, but. But you can see, so we're seeing where people live and where their favorite locations are they like to visit, where they were before and after going through that exit point. And so once we get both sides of each exit mapped out correctly, we'll be able to have a ton of information to look at. And And going another thing with Placer, Don, you just reminded me of, is even looking at like our ESPN purchase, maybe we can geofence, or not geofence, but put in the correct zip codes of the area that ESPN 1000 covers and broadcasts, and maybe we can look at that and compare. Did we get more people from that broadcast area than we did the past years?
Well, that'd be phenomenal.
I mean, 80% sure we can do that with Placer, but that's something I just wrote down to discuss.
I think
next
also,
meeting
this
next week.
part of this is establishing a baseline for what's within the geofence, right, over the course of the year. Does it go up or down relative to people coming in or out, kind of thing?
Yeah, because sometimes tracking, more traditional advertising like billboards and radio ads, it's hard to tell what kind of effect you're having. This might be the only way we can.
Now, the argument used to be in marketing, you spend 100%, but you think 50% is going someplace, and you don't know where the other 50% went. So,
So Coca-Cola.
Right.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll be a way we can track that a little better than a way we've ever had.
I think it's phenomenal. It's just.
But yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to go over. This is the kind of data we'll be able to look at for all of our different events and stuff.
Yeah, and so they're going to be also having the same conversation with the next folks that are talking, which is community relations, which is Dale and Chris, about how we can plug this type of information in with the Mill Pond Festival or the Scarecrow Festival or something like that. That's coming up next in our presentation, but I'll just close Bill's portion out. Amy, Brett have anything in there?
Yeah, I can add something real quick from the hotel committee. We met on April 16th. We went over our notes from our visits in March. We discussed the hotels that have made improvements or are improving currently, including Baymont, Blue Heron, Travelodge, and Microtel. One of the things that came up from Amy's input was we definitely want to look at getting maybe a partner quarterly newsletter or something we can take to the hotels, something that I'll probably work on doing. One of the things was me being now the director of hospitality and lodging is I'm going to try to go out and make some one-on-one visits with the hotels so they get familiar with my face before we get knee-deep into, well, actually we're already there, the Great Lakes Grand Prix, but over the next 3-4 weeks. So we have more than just a quarterly touch as the staff. Go out and do that. And then the other thing we talked about a little bit too is definitely like with the thought of our pillars that we're working on for the strategic plan is our third-party rentals. Scott and I, when we were doing our visits, spent some time with Aaron over at our beach walk. One of the things we found out, a great segue into the boat race, basically, I believe that would have been 130, 40 days out when we stopped in and talked to her. They're basically full already for boat race week. According to Aaron, most of those people book before they even leave the year before. They're booking 6 to 9 months out, and that's some of the information we were pulling up off of the Air DNA that we're now a member of. So we're looking at ways to help our third-party rentals. As we all know, they're more than 42% of our revenue now off last year's numbers. So one of the things we want to do is identify like advertising now for their summer probably isn't going to be a big help for them or us. And as with most of our partners, where they need the most help is going to be November through April. So that's one of our focuses and things we'll be talking about at our next meeting.
So the moral to the story of listening to Brett is don't ever underestimate Amy.
Her ability to delegate and get all the stuff is going to be really good.
So as we were working on assignments and everything, and then they left, and Amy says, I'm taking over this, and I'm going to need this, and I'm going to need that, and her list just kept moving. And she said, well, I got to get heads and beds passed on to somebody. We talked about who, we were in agreement on who that would be. I said, let's shoot for a fourth quarter of this year to have that done. She snuck that up behind my back, around the different corners, and now the most important thing that we do, heads and beds, she was able to pass off and effectively get it set up. So don't underestimate it. That's the
jump to the effective.
Real goal.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's a big shoe to fill. So last, closing out the finances for the board's information, when Robbie was talking about sales sales in here, sales in there. You'll recall that when we came to you all and asked you to approve that management contract, we talked about income that would come directly to LaPorte County. And that was, in the way the management contract was written last time was $300,000, as you know, will come to LaPorte County. And a little over half of that is from sales, right, Robbie, pretty much. So that's a big part of what we're doing here in our big picture and getting the money back from that management contract. The other 140,000 or whatever comes from fees from the counties, so membership fees, so that's pretty much the 300. Although we have determined, I'm almost 100% sure, I'm gonna be asking for an extra 50,000 from NITDC next year. Just because we want to do some more things there in regards to our reimbursement, but that's a whole other animal for down the road. Dan was gracious enough when he was doing it, he was doing stuff for free, but now is where I'll agree with Mike and some of you guys, you know, we got a whole line, right? We got it, so yeah, we'll be doing that. So moving on, community relations, got a couple cool, really cool things going on there. So Dale, you first.
Like,
Chris, you up first? Who's up?
Sure. Do you want to? Yeah. Okay. So May
Can you
4th.
imagine, it's my idea.
Massage and donuts.
May 4th through 10th is the National Tourism Week. And as we mark Tourism Week, we're taking a moment to celebrate the people, the places, the partnerships that make our destination truly special. Tourism is more than travel. It's about connection, culture, communication, and collaboration. The CVB is going to be doing a wellness check by bringing our partners donuts and thanking them for the year-round contribution and efforts. We will be starting in the southern LaPorte County and then working our way back into Michigan City. This is directly supported in our budget and planning process. So we're looking forward to doing that.
So when you say Southern County, are you going to be visiting?
So we are going to Westville Police Department, Wanata Town Hall, La Crosse Town Hall, as La Crosse Town Hall, Fairgrounds, Wanata, Westville. And then Hannah, they don't have anybody in their office, but we're gonna try to set something up to at least meet with them.
Are you inviting the community to come into these?
No, so it'll be Dale, myself, and Brett. The three of us will be going out.
No, I mean, when we go to like Hannah.
Yes.
Leadership, up here, like the chamber.
It's more of like the government.
Okay, that's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Government. Okay.
There'll be some follow-ups, you know, with community involvement, but this is just to touch base, leave business cards, and then there's gonna be an update soon on what we're doing with each of these, like the Mill Pond Festival. That's not today, right?
And that's, I think, it. So, we're working on getting registered right now for the LaPorte County festivals in the southern counties as well as Michigan City and LaPorte. We will be displaying booths to promote LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Some of these events include Hannah Fest, Westville Pumpkin Fest, Door Village, Sunflower Fair, Wanata Scarecrow Festival, and Mill Pond.
Yeah, something in Fish Lake.
We'll have, yes, and then we're doing the Fish Lake is having a festival August 2nd. Same as the boat race, but I know Dale's gonna be featuring them on the radio, and then I already have them featured on the website.
Oh, how do they land on our boat race?
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
For years.
Lack of communication, and they change, people move on, new people come on, they don't change the date.
Check with the librarian at Hannah.
Okay.
He's a good guy, he'll help you.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Chris, was that it for you, kiddo?
Yes.
Okay, Dale?
So, I'd like to talk a little bit about Vibrant LaPorte County, which is an initiative that got started a while ago, and some of its strategies are to enliven the presence of our community culture, support a culture of lifelong learning, inspire greater civic engagement and involvement, and to prioritize healthy lifestyles for all people. So, with that initiative, I'm on a board called the Center for Creative Solutions, and that board helps to discover solutions for personal and professional business, organizational, and community challenges. So last week was World Creative Week. We went to the former A.K. Smith Center. It's called LaPorte County Career and Technical Education on April 15th. And we celebrated students there. Any student that had or organization, they have what they call innovation projects. We gave them awards as well as scholarships, monetary scholarships for those awards on April 15th. And on April 16th, I spoke at Paladin. For those of you who are not familiar with what Paladin does, they serve as an advocate for children and adults with disabilities. So almost every week I'm asked to speak at a place like Paladin discussing Naomi Anderson, so that's what I did that day. And I also, for World Creative Week, spoke at the Michigan City Library. We partnered with Sinai Temple, and we had women's voices in poetry. So we had 5 young women who wrote poetry, and they got up and spoke about that at the library, and we had quite a few people attend that. This Saturday, we're having a ribbon cutting for what's called Street Smart. We were able to get $25,000 to start this with a group called Renaissance, who's me and 3 other people. We are going to be able to provide 3 kids and a mentor. They're going to be paid to clean up yards. They're going to rake for senior citizens, and then they'll be able to be mentored by those people that live in those houses and that mentor. We're going to do that on the east side and the west side of Michigan City. They'll be paid, which is going to be a wonderful event. We're going to do that all year round, and we're going to continue to get grants to keep that going. And we eventually want to do that in LaPorte as well. This Sunday here at the Bureau, we are having a poetry reading. Last year we had about 125 people attend that event. It's going to be from 1 until 4. Everybody's invited. We held a contest, and we had over 500 entries. We started with the first grade all the way up to adults. So if anybody wants to come and hear that poetry, you're welcome to come. It's open to the public. We also, Renaissance also was able to get a $5,000 grant for the Michigan City Public Arts Committee, and we're going to be making over a park on the west side of Michigan City. It's the state park. It's called Pullman Park, and we're going to provide murals, and we're going to buy skateboards that are going to be painted by local artists, and there's going to be a giveaway and a party, and that's going to be in September. There's also one more thing that I'm working on that we are getting a $10,000 grant for. I just have one more hurdle to jump, but it's going to be called Walking on Walker Street. And on this part of Walker Street, there are no sidewalks, and it leads to a park where children play. So we got that $10,000 grant, and we're going to build sidewalks on Walker Street, so those kids will have a safe place to walk. That's it.
Thank you. Been kind of busy.
I think that's fantastic, getting all that grant money.
Yes.
It really is.
She helps a lot of grants.
Yeah. She's actually partnering up with Mayor Angie, trying to grab another handful of dollars. I saw an email go through,
Yeah.
saying if they can partner with us, we need them to go with us on it. So great job. We've already done NITDC, that's done. Legislative, there's nothing, Mike, that we've done at all. It ended pretty rough. The cities and towns are gonna be not sending Christmas cards to the legislators, I imagine. It's not the best time right there. They're broke cities and towns, and they're gonna probably have to go for a wheel tax of some sort to survive, I'm guessing, and it'll be an interesting discussion as they move forward there. And no money was given to state tourism, which we've never expected that here. You know, we've always just done our own thing, fighting pure Michigan by ourselves. So that moves us to event director, great updates, a lot of good stuff happening in both communities, and I think us being able to continue in that role, Pat, that we've done, where we've kind of helped pull this together, is a big deal, and maybe help some things happen there. So Terry and Gregory are both up, whoever's, let's go first.
I can go first. We have a busy month of May coming up for the Civic and for LaPorte. We have LaPorte High School prom May 3rd, which is Saturday, not too far away. And then we have 2 concerts in May, which is Creedence Revived and Queen Nation, which will be May 10th and May 17th. So back-to-back weekends for those concerts. May's going to be very busy for us, and then we roll straight into June. We have the Carden Circus coming to the Civic, and then we have Ohio Valley Wrestling coming back on June 13th. That's a 2-pack that we did with them. They'll also be performing in September, so they gave us a really good deal for having 2 events of wrestling, and that's been huge, especially with everything going on in the wrestling world with WrestleMania this past weekend and last night. And then we have Small Town, which is the Mount Camp Tribute Band coming in June as well. So we have a packed bunch of concerts coming up. I will mention that for our Lake Fest, we put 300 tickets on sale for our headliner for the VIP area, which would be Jesse McCartney, who's a pop singer, and those sold out in less than a week. So that was tremendous to see. We're expecting a really great crowd for our Lake Fest in LaPorte, and then also we just booked Hinder, which is a famous rock band that will be coming to the Civic in July.
Did you get a headliner for the, where we moved the Aquacross event from during Lake Fest? Did you replace that with anything you're aware of? We kind of took the center stage there at the lake, Stone Lake for those 2 days. You don't know if they pulled anything?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I know one thing, they were working with Ted, it might not happen at Stone, but they're working with Ted on getting his steamboat, taking steamboat rides that weekend, but I don't know if it's gonna be on Pine or Stone, I don't know if that's a done deal.
That'll be on Pine.
Oh, is it happening?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
happening.
Okay.
Yeah, they're coming.
Sorry, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they're doing steamboat rides out there. What's that?
That was canoe up, yeah.
Or not canoe, kayak or something?
Kayak.
Yeah, they're doing some kayaks. They're doing like more of like I think a family beach day that day out there on Stone Lake. We're just trying to get a bunch of different activities for like moving the kids' morning over to the beach, basically, and making like a whole fun kids' family day out there at the Stone Lake.
My bad, I forgot you were sitting over there.
I know, sorry.
Yeah, good deal. Anything else, Greg?
That's all I have for now.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Terry?
Just a real quick recap of our Easter egg hunt. We got that this past Saturday. Thanks to the wonderful people at the Michigan City Senior Center. We stuffed 20,000 eggs. We know that because we bought 20,000 eggs and there were none left when we done stuffing. Took about an hour and a half to stuff them, about an hour to put them out. And even though our count was down on kids, I think we had less than 1,000 kids this year. They were 3 minutes and 20 seconds to pick up 20,000. In addition to that, our great new premier partner, our next construction, was there. They had a huge display. They did a free raffled off a couple of bicycles and a couple of huge Easter baskets. So overall, it was a really great event. I think the weather hurt us a little bit. but another great Easter celebration. Coming up, the next event for us is May 24th and 25th. That's the Saturday and Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. We have Michigan City Food and Music Festival. We are this was formerly the Michigan City Food Truck Festival. It was taken over by Vic Thierry from Harbor Country Adventures, so we're partnering with him to put on a 2-day festival. We're looking at approximately 20 food trucks, and we've got a battle of the bands on Saturday. We got live music both Saturday and Sunday. As soon as we finalize that lineup, we're just finishing up some contract stuff. That whole schedule will be out, so looking forward to that. And then we jump into our month of June, which is going to be absolutely crazy. We start with our Juneteenth celebration on June 19th. Michigan City Special Events and the Park Department are partnering with some other local businesses to put on the Juneteenth event this year. We have secured all of our entertainment. As soon as those contracts are finalized, we'll announce the entertainment lineup. But it looks to be really a great day of peace and celebration. That's June 19th.
Let me just add to that, because I've kind of been like an indirect member of the committee. Our organization, Michigan City Chapter of Indiana Black Expo, we have a representative that attends those. And you really should come out to this event if you can. It's an excellent opportunity to learn about the culture, what Juneteenth is all about, and just really kind of embrace the diversity of this community in that way. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you can, come out.
Yeah, so that's our June 19th celebration, our Juneteenth celebration. 2 days after that, we have our Michigan City Kitty Parade, which is already starting to look like it's going to be bigger than last year. 6 short days after the Kitty Parade, we have our Michigan City Patriotic Parade, which is obviously our biggest parade of the year. We are very, very close to announcing making a huge announcement on our Grand Marshal for the parade. I think once that's announced, it's really going to excite a lot of people. And with this Grand Marshal, it looks as if we're going to be adding an 11th event for Eric and I planned this year, because we're going to do a large-scale community event following the parade that'll involve our guests of honor. So we're looking forward to that. That should be very, very exciting.
Now, you know you got us all like, everybody's like, okay, who is this?
That's the whole idea. Just and then just a few days after our Patriotic Parade, we jump into our fireworks spectacular on July 4th, which is always a huge event. I do want to remind everybody that the Singing Sand Sculpting Festival, which is usually has traditionally been in early June, has moved to July 18th, 19th, and 20th. We've taken over the weekend. It was formerly the jet skis. That event, I talked to Bill Knight. That event has actually become one of the top 5 sand sculpting events in the country. Wow. And it is by far the largest sand sculpting festival on the Great Lakes. And there's 3 other festivals on the Great Lakes. So that event is growing. We've actually added master sculptors. We've gone from 6 to 8 master sculptors, and we've already turned away about a dozen sculptors who want to be here. So we're really excited about that. Last thing I want to bring up is still partnership opportunities available with Michigan City Special Events. So if you know of companies that want to get involved in the community, I set a pretty hefty goal this year, and we're just shy of that goal. So we're about $16,000 short of our goal. So, hopefully we get there.
Terry, quickly, great job. I brought my grandson to the Easter Fest. He's absolutely right. The kids they're just nuts over that thing, and it's so much fun. Just picking up the eggs and opening them up, and I just the delight. And it's such a wonderful family experience. I was very proud to be part of this community. Thanks for your leadership and police department, everybody else putting that together. It's really cool. My grandson was through the roof, so it was really
In addition to the 20,000 eggs, obviously filled with candy, we gave away $3,000 worth of gift cards as golden ticket prizes.
He didn't win one of those, but
Don, you got 2 of them.
The other question I had for you and Dale a little bit was Lebezic Art Fest. Do we do much to promote that?
Yeah, we've been actually working with Janet and her team. We help promote that as much as we possibly can. This year, they got a challenge with the new solar project that's going on right across the street. It could make their art festival a little challenging, but we've met with them on multiple occasions, and we've got more meetings planned to help work through that.
Okay, just curious.
So, yeah, we do anything we can to help promote events, even if we're not running those events. If people get us the information, we'll put it out.
Thank you.
Did your grandson get one of the eggs and egg stuff?
No, I don't know.
Fireball, bottle and stuff? I only did 20 of them.
Yeah, he makes something out of something called toxic waste. I'm serious. And it's got some goopy flavor to it, but super, super sour, so.
I was hoping we'd get complaints about that.
We slept all night today.
I think that takes us right off the agenda. Angie's not here for the advisory group.
But we have Doug here. Doug, did you have any input? You guys have?
No, we got no venues.
Okay.
Back to you, Patricia.
Okay. Lots of things going on. Fasten your seatbelts. Any unfinished business? Yes.
I just wanted to give you a heads up that I will be sending emails to the membership of the board as it is time to get our Washington Park stickers. So Michigan City residents do receive one free parking pass for the season. The Bureau will also add to that with a ticket, a parking pass, or parking pass as needed. And so I'll be asking through email for your address, your tag number, and something else. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Full address, tag number, but that'll come out very quickly. Thank you.
Any new business? No new business item? Well, I ask for board comments at this time.
Jack, is there any way that you can look into sprucing up that van?
The 15 passenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott's brought it up a couple times. We're about ready to make a couple decisions, right, Scott?
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna get it down to a body shop. I'll get it,
It's time.
appraisal for that,
Yeah,
and
it's
then
time.
either that or wrapped.
Yeah, I gave him approval there, there's money in the budget. At least there is now. By the end of the year, there won't be, so we're gonna get it done while we got the money in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, he asked me if I wanted to use that. I don't want to see you there.
Good call.
I just want to make one comment. I like the red shirts. Board members have them.
That's on you and Gail for
It
driving.
shows a true team effort, so kind of nice. I like that.
On that note, please get Chelsea your updates. You're handling the board still, right, Gail? Because
Not local wear, but I will help.
Okay, anyway, the two of them. We have a lot of events coming up, and we'd like to have the board present, and if you'd like to wear, we get a couple different colors, we would like that. We would appreciate that.
Yeah.
We've got some ESPN ones that we'll be using now because of their involvement. We've got some ones that Cheryl designed for us that are more tropical, like Key West type for the boat race. And then we got the regular normal golf shirts and zippers. Yeah, we'd appreciate it if you guys would get them and wear them.
All right, so there you go. Everybody in red.
They get an email, that's part of their evaluation.
Who's your red, we like to call it here.
Good job.
Hey, it's much better than Kentucky Blue. Yeah. Very good.
He must be a Hoosier fan.
Okay, with that, do we have any other board comments at this
We'll
time?
never wear these again.
Just a clarification, next board meeting is May 6th. It says 2nd, but I think you're talking about the Tuesday, right? The 2nd is a Friday.
Yeah, we don't need that early in the month. I think we looked up, it should be the 27th. 27th.
Oh, okay.
We weren't even close.
No, she just left out the 7th. She just left the 7th.
I think March 27th, May 27th.
Did you throw a dart up in there and hope you?
I'm just looking, it says day after Memorial Day, so.
Okay, the 27th is the day after
Day after
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Does anyone have any major conflicts? Because I need to make sure we're gonna have quorum. Day after Memorial Day. All right? All right. Okay, so the next meeting is scheduled for May 27th, 8:30 here at the Bureau. Any other comments or corrections to anything? Hearing none, our meeting is adjourned. We will see you on May 27th. Have a great month.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.